एक कप कॉफ़ी की कीमत तुम क्या जानो रमेश बाबू। आओ आज मैं तुम्हें बताती हूँ राज एक कप कॉफ़ी का। Hello! A big warm welcome to all of you to the third episode of my channel, Oh Mati Re. My name is Geetika, and in this channel we talk about conscious living, about connecting with our soul consciousness, about living in sync with Mother Nature. Today we are going to unravel the invisible story of our favorite, our beloved coffee. Because as we all know, a lot can happen over a cup of coffee. Coffee is the second most traded cash crop in the world. 2.25 billion cups of coffee is consumed every day in the world. And coffee by itself is a really carbon-intensive crop. It's laborious, it's time-taking, and it involves a lot of water consumption, carbon dioxide consumption in its entire lifetime. To really understand the carbon footprint or the environmental impact of coffee, we first need to understand what is carbon footprint. Carbon footprint is basically the total greenhouse gases emission that happens through the cultivation, the processing, and the end of life of any product. What all goes on through the life cycle of any consumed good is basically its carbon footprint. So when we have coffee, it's not just about how much I paid for it. It's really about how much water, how much carbon dioxide, how much fuel, how much of everything went into its entire lifetime. So to simply put it, 1 cup of coffee is equal to 140 liters of water. Interestingly, 70% of the carbon footprint generated at the cultivation stage is because of the use of nitrogen fertilizers. Coffee is the third most sprayed crop in the world. And why is that so? Because of the aggressive shift towards sun-grown farming in coffee cultivation. Traditionally, coffee has been a shade-grown crop, wherein coffee plants flourish under the shade of taller trees. However, since 1970s, there has been an aggressive shift towards open, sun-grown coffee cultivation. This monoculture format has been adapted to meet the ever-growing demand for coffee across the world. Sun-grown farming eliminates the shade-giving trees from the coffee cultivation, thereby destroying the ecological balance. Because of this deforestation, migratory birds are becoming extinct, thereby leading to elevated pest problems and excessive use of fertilizers. It also leads to soil degradation and decreased pollination. This kind of cultivation also demands for excessive additional irrigation, whereas traditional coffee cultivation has always thrived on simple rainwater harvesting. 70% of the coffee across the globe is provided by literally 5 countries. Ironically, it is the most underdeveloped or developing countries that actually provide coffee to the developed world, like the Europe, US. Coffee cultivation has had a history of slavery, and even now, a lot of farm workers are often underpaid or forcefully employed. With the excessive use of fertilizers, they are also exposed to various health risks. Small farmers often struggle to match the low market rate of commercially grown coffee, as they can't afford the complex machinery and expensive fertilizers. So to really understand the sustainability of coffee, we need to address all these aspects. Okay, we understand the problem, the challenges, but what's the solution? The solution, my friend, is in our choices, is in how much interest we take in going deeper in understanding and knowing where our cup of coffee is coming from. So that's what I mean when I say, let's know our food. So one of the basic things that I would look for in my coffee is that I would try to source it as locally as possible. Local as in anything that grows closer to us, because that automatically means that it is going to be fresher, because it's going to travel much lesser distance and it will use much lesser amount of fuel for it to reach to you. Fortunately for us in India, southern part of the country is the heart of its traditional shade-grown coffee cultivation. For generations, they have been cultivating high-end artisanal coffee beans, which have generally been exported because of the lack of local demand. So let's try and find out these kind of brands that are homegrown, that are local for us, and they are of really good quality. 70% of carbon dioxide emission happens because of the addition of fertilizers in coffee cultivation. So if I go for an organic brand, I automatically reduce the carbon footprint of my cup of coffee, right? Another thing I would like to consider is that is my coffee fair trade coffee? Now, what does that mean? It basically means that it contributes to sustainable development by providing better trading options to coffee bean farmers. It also supports environmentally sustainable farming practices, and also it ensures that there is no forced labor or child labor happening in any of these farming setups. Some of the brands in India that have been promoting sustainable and fair trade coffee cultivation are Blue Tokai, Black Bazaar, Cariappa Coffee, and there are many more. You can find the links in the description box. Do check them out. Okay, so step 1 done. We have now chosen our brand of coffee. Next step is to make a coffee. Interestingly, just some small changes in the way of making a coffee can help us save some carbon footprint. So let's say we are at the crossroads. There are two ways. One goes towards black coffee, one goes towards white coffee. So let's try and understand which pathway takes us where. So let's assume you take option 1, which is black coffee. More often than not, we tend to boil extra water. It adds up to 20 grams of wasted carbon dioxide. That may not sound like a very big figure, right? But just calculate it into I'm assuming just 2 cups of black coffee a day into 365 days in a year, then it becomes a significant figure. So just measure a cup of water and boil only as much as you need, and that way you can save so much of carbon dioxide in 1 year. And it's also not just about how much water to boil, it's also about how to boil it. So in terms of carbon dioxide emissions, it's always better to use a stove top as compared to your electric kettles. Time-wise, the electric kettle might be faster, but energy-wise, stove top is a better option. Another way to make the most of our coffee is by utilizing the leftover grounds. We can make an aromatic bath scrub out of it, or use it to scrub off tough stains from utensils. In fact, it works wonderfully as a natural fertilizer for plants. Okay, going back to the crossroads again and taking the second route, which is the milk coffee. Do you know? Milk contributes to 60 to 70% of the carbon footprint for each cup of coffee. And if you go for your latte with some extra milk powder, it goes up to 80 to 90%. So 1 cup of black coffee contributes to 21 grams of carbon dioxide, whereas this is a cafe latte, which contributes to 340 grams of carbon dioxide. 21 grams, 340 grams. But I love my latte. We all love our lattes. And the problem is not in the latte. It's in the milk that goes into it. So instead of dairy milk, if I go for, let's say, coconut milk, then I'm reducing my carbon footprint by 1/3. That's a win-win situation, because at least for myself, I personally love coconut milk. And it just gives this decadent, rich flavor to my latte. It's worth a try. Coffee is so much more than just a cup of coffee, right? It's an experience, especially when we go out to a cafe and we chill out with our friends or we do our meetings. All we want is just to keep on sipping our favorite cup of coffee, right? But have you ever wondered what happens to that cup after we've finished our coffee? Or what goes on behind the making of that cup of coffee? Do you know that every year 400 billion cups of coffee are dumped into landfills? A lot of these cups are lined with a layer of plastic inside to able to hold hot liquids. They also have plastic caps and straws. Even if it is paper, it takes about 20 years for it to degrade because of the lack of oxygen in these landfills. Do you know every year 16 billion disposable coffee cups are used? To process these, 6.5 billion trees are cut down. Around 4.5 billion tons of water is wasted, and energy enough to fuel 54,000 families for an entire year is wasted. And why do you use the word wasted? Because we don't really need these disposable cups, do we? So why not go for something like this? This is my go-to coffee mug. I basically carry it with me most of the time so that even if I have an impromptu plan, I always have something to take my coffee in. It's made of silicone, completely reusable. I've been using it for a long time now. You can take any of your favorite mugs, cups, whatever you fancy. Even if you can save one paper coffee cup, it means a lot. So much goes behind one cup of coffee. Isn't it amazing? What's even better is that we can make small shifts in our choices and make our coffee sustainable coffee. Thank you for being here and giving your precious time to me. Before I sign out, I just want to say that if you feel like, then please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I hope to see you very soon. Until then, you take care of yourself, enjoy a cup of coffee. Bye!